Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Jussie Smollett has been released from prison for the time being, pending the outcome of his appeal. Now, before we get into this, first of all, let me say that I'm no fan of Jussie Smollett. I'm not here to stand up for the guy, never saw him on TV, and don't care about him. In that regard, I guess I have the same opinion of him as the white media does. That's important because earlier today, and it's amazing how many attention-starved goofballs who must spend all of their time drinking lead paint apparently did not realize that when I pointed out that Jussie Smollett being released was rubbing the white supremacists' faces in the fact of their own hypocrisy about all of these white murderers like Jason Van Dyke who lie on police reports and don't go to prison for it. And if he's not going to prison, well, hell, don't complain then when the black guy doesn't go to prison. You had some idiots coming along saying, dude, what you doing supporting this man? Why you up here supporting this guy? Huh? What's that about, huh? I'm going to say this so that hopefully those idiots who clearly couldn't make it past preschool might be able to understand, though I doubt it. If you are honestly so dense that you really don't know the difference between rubbing the white supremacist faces in what for them amounts to an L and putting on the cape for someone, then you're too dense to be around me. Get lost, unsubscribe, don't follow, get the hell away from me. You will not be missed. I do not care about Jussie Smollett any more than I care about R. Kelly or Dave Chappelle or Bill Cosby or O.J. Simpson. But there's a lot of black folks who don't know what the hell they're talking about. You see them on Twitter dropping their little brain farts in the comments section, talking about, how can I be pro-black with some of this stuff? Pro-black, you need to be pro-brains. Why don't you start with that first? Did I say that Jussie Smollett was some sort of huge L for us? No, I said exactly the opposite. I said this is white supremacy who's basically using sock puppets, a system that they control from top to bottom, and they have an organized, manufactured, engineered little conviction here that meant nothing. We could all see it coming, and that was the entire point. Now, the white supremacists, of course, they got to feel good for 5 minutes, and this is something that makes them feel bad, and because of that, I think it needs to be talked about. And if you got a problem with the white supremacists being made to feel bad about something, then the problem is you, not me. Now, of course, there is the whole LGBT angle to this, and we're going to certainly be talking about that. But first, we need to get into why it is that this all happened, because apparently from the comments that I've seen the last 16 hours or so, there's a lot of slow folks around here. Not to mention some trolls and some other people who they're on some sort of Afrocentric idiocy. They don't know the first thing about black first, but they do know they like to talk. First of all, Jussie Smollett was a proxy. It has nothing to do with us, and it has a lot to do with us because this guy was singled out and targeted to be made into a media sensation, I put sensation in quotes, to make a media circus about this guy because he was a stand-in for the black community and for the hurting that the black grassroots have been putting on all of these white supremacists who previously have been getting away with murder untouched. This entire manufactured phony fiasco was a proxy, and that was the entire point. Everyone was meant to recognize it for exactly what it was. The white media and the thugs in the Chicago police union wanted to make it clear exactly what this was about because that was the point, to be blatant about it. We've been crystal clear and blatant about the need to punish these white supremacists, so this was them calling themselves singling out some person in a process that was clearly controlled and engineered from start to finish so they could show their little power. To show that they're still in charge. Because even after all this, Jussie Smollett's still required to pay $120,000 in restitution for what, I don't know, a $25,000 fine, not sure where the 25 grand came from, and the city of Chicago, who apparently hasn't wasted enough of the taxpayers' dollars, they're suing him for $130,000. Now, has this ever happened before? Obviously, this is a political agenda taking place. Kim Foxx apparently did not do what they wanted her to do, what they were demanding that she do. So this is them pulling this mess. And the black response in Chicago needs to be that this is going to have to happen all the time. If this is just about the money that the city's spent, then why doesn't anyone tabulate the millions of dollars that the police union got the city to waste investigating this nothing burger over and over again? The money wasted appointing a special prosecutor for a misdemeanor. A special prosecutor is supposed to be for the cases of murder. It's supposed to be for high crimes and felonies. Not supposed to be because of a failure of paperwork. But that's what happened here. They spent millions of dollars trying to turn a non-issue into something, or at least to convince people that it was a something. And the reason why is because they're butthurt that the piece of trash Jason Van Dyke got sent to prison for murdering Laquan McDonald, and the white supremacists, particularly the ones in the Chicago PD, they're never going to forget the humiliation of that. Because it set a precedent, one that threatens all of them. They were quaking in their boots, mad as hell, because they saw that they could be touched. But the bastards in the Chicago PD, they've bought themselves worse trouble, because now they have demonstrated that if the DA refuses to prosecute a case, why, all you got to do now is just demand a special prosecutor, and you can demand them for a misdemeanor. It ain't even got to be a felony, just a misdemeanor. And now the people of Chicago must make it clear they're going to demand the exact same thing in cases where the DA refuses to prosecute the police. If the state attorney or the attorney general of the state refuses to prosecute the police, that case, then we're going to have a special prosecutor appointed. This was all blatantly political, and that was the entire point. The walking garbage who cheered this on, they did it because they knew the fix was in. Everyone knew that this was a stage-managed production by the white supremacists in the Chicago Police Union. It was white supremacists using a system that they control from start to finish to make a manufactured, prearranged result. They saw that you had police, particularly white police officers, finally being punished for killing black people. They saw that the white media lie, that there's no difference between how black people are treated in the courts and white people. They saw that that was proven a lie in front of the entire world. They saw white killers being punished and people unable to deny what we've been saying all along. They saw their immunity from law being eroded. So they needed to do something big to prove that I'm white and I say so is still the law of the land. That they could pick a black person and use the white media to manufacture some kind of false equivalence between that black person and all of these white race killers murdering black people in the streets. That's what this was about. To take an alleged case of a false police report and then use the white media to try to portray and cover it as if it was a triple homicide. Instead of doing what they do in every case where a white person files a false report, like Jason Van Dyke and Amy Cooper, just ignore it and say that it's a minor thing. Nobody goes to jail for this. Jussie Smollett's career is damaged, and isn't that enough? You can't. This is not exactly someone getting killed. That's what they would do in the case of Amy Cooper and Jason Van Dyke. In the case of Jason Van Dyke, they didn't even talk about it. They just pretended as if it didn't even happen. They didn't even mention it. For years, the truth of how racist the dominant society in this country was being put to the test. And now it's been displayed for the whole world to see. They thought they were getting away with it, but over time, people got tired of seeing the murderers walk because it was proving what we were saying. We kept people's attention on it and people couldn't look away. And then it began to happen. One by one, you started seeing these police getting convicted, even by majority white juries. And for the enemy, it seemed that practically overnight, they went from being untouchable to being guaranteed convicts. People around the world were looking at the police and white society in America very differently. The police were furious that they were finally being held accountable, and the very public who had previously been a rubber stamp committee was now putting them in prison. And every time that a Jason Van Dyke or a Michael Slager or an Amber Geiger or a Derek Chauvin goes to prison, that for them was just another example in rapid succession that, the tide was turning and that badge was not a license to kill, and the very black people who you thought that you could kill with impunity, now they can have you put in prison guaranteed. So I'm laughing. It's great to see the idiots who are having a good time just partying and laughing it up and going, that's right, that Jussie Smollett guy, he's in prison where he belongs. That's what they were saying last week. That's right, the system works, the system works. Okay, now he's out. The system still works, doesn't it? The system is broken. It just goes to show how broken it is. And what makes these animals so angry is it's their system. They're the ones who own it. They're the ones who control it. This was their system set up for a predetermined result. This was all stage managed, all of it completely and thoroughly controlled. And yet they're now being forced to see another example, just like Cosby before them, that, you had a great time watching the black guy get frog marched off to prison. And now you can watch this guy skip his way through the prison gates out to freedom again. So for the half-wits who clearly took the slow bus to Twitter or YouTube, there's no cure for stupid, so I'm not going to try to educate you. Though I will say, if you decided for whatever reason that you simply cannot take glee in these white supremacists gnashing and grinding their rotted, snaggle-toothed, mostly artificial teeth, then there is no help for you. Taking pleasure in seeing the white supremacists mad about something and supporting Jussie Smollett are two separate things. And if you really can't figure that one out, then maybe you need to just stay quiet until you do. Though I gotta tell you, you're off to a hell of a slow start if this one happens to be just too much for you to handle. Now, the other aspect, of course, happens to be that Jussie Smollett, the gay Tupac, well, when he was in court, he wasn't talking none of that gay stuff. He was trying to black it up as much as he could, and that was because he realized what everybody else knew from the beginning. The LGBT lobby wasn't going to get behind him. Oh, the LGBT community, they washed their hands of him first chance that they got. And they haven't come back to him since. You ain't seen GLAAD or ACT UP or any of these organizations. You ain't seen none of these LGBT actors out there who were standing by him before saying, wait a minute here, the sentence here was too harsh. No, as far as they were concerned, when they realized they couldn't get any mileage out of him, they dropped him like a bad habit and they haven't come back. And I know that there happen to be a number of LGBT people in the black community, but you better understand something. Under white supremacy, you are not judged by what you do in the bedroom. You are judged by your amount of melanin and your lineage. And that being the case, if you're a person whose skin is black, and especially if you can trace your roots back to the killing fields of the American South, you can play that intersectional game all you want, but as Jussie Smollett found out the hard way, this white supremacist society is not going to play along with you. That's part of the reason why I made sure to mention Don Lemonade and the little problems he's having with his old pal, I mean his brother, Chris Cuomo. Oh yeah, Don Lemonade thought to himself that somehow he was an intersectional person too. He thought that all those good white executives over at CNN, they were going to basically allow him to trash Chris Cuomo and he was on the team and all the rest of it. He may find out the hard way that he's not. There's a whole lot of black folks out there who think that they're going to escape blackness by trying to put some sort of hyphen on there, that they're intersectional or they're this, that, and a third, and it don't work. It's not going to work. And Jussie may be out for the time being, but wouldn't it be something if all of these white courts that decided to let him go free was just so they could go ahead and throw him back in there and say, hey, you got 30 months probation and we're just going to mess with you like a yo-yo. And all of that money that he's got to pay, at least what's going to come out to probably $250,000 before it's all over, because the city of Chicago, they're going to be suing him. And the thing is, they got him dead to rights, and they're going to have their racist judges who say, yeah, the city's money is very precious indeed. City's time. You could have gotten some innocent white person in trouble. They're going to be digging this dead corpse up as many times as they possibly can and try to trot it around and make it move as much as they can. They're going to get as much mileage out of it as possible. But don't expect to see any of the LGBT lobby or community coming to Jussie's rescue and saying, you know what, whatever money it is that they want you to pay, we'll put up the money for you. They're not going to be doing that. And they're also not going to be calling for moderation on his behalf. Instead, they seem to be celebrating the end of his career. Even though he's out of jail, he's also out of a job and out of a career. That's how they're playing it. And you know what? I got no sympathy for him. The Jussie Smollett saga is far from over, but for my part, I have a good chuckle watching these white supremacists sitting here reeing online, and they're losing what few brain cells they might have had left, whichever brain cells weren't wiped out through a combination of incest and moonshine a long time ago. But of course, we're not so naive or silly as to decide that we're going to be pulling for Jussie Smollett. He's on his own. We can give commentary on this. We can give our opinion on this. We happen to be observers to this. We're not participants. We can call out the hypocrisy and the injustice as far as the amount of attention that it's gotten, but at no point are you going to be seeing me holding up any signs saying free Jussie Smollett. The only hoax that he's pulled greater than the one 3 years ago is all of his phony blackness today, and I don't salute that. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Anthony Cooper, Keitha Dixon, Jasmine B., Vincent Harper, and Angela Maynor. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.